Okay, so welcome back to the third installment of overDress Overview, where I'll be covering different decks in overdress and how they develop in the meta. So for part 3 this time, we have Nirvana, the deck featuring the mechanic overdress from Cardfight Area overdress. So it's a Dragon Empire deck, which features the new mechanic overdress, which is basically stacking evolution cards on top of the base unit to have them gain extra skills and just benefit effects. So in general, the deck plays as a beatdown deck, or rather a rush deck actually, as it's able to aggro the opponent so fast that they cannot really react to it. Especially the drop in shield value, which we were kind of worried about. But this is one of the deck that takes advantage of this the most. So I'll go through the right deck. So it'll be like Dragon Egg, draw one card, Sunrise Egg, then Blissman and Reno. When you write it with a grade 2, which is Ryu, you can call a Trickstar from your deck. Then with Ryu, when you write Nirvana of it, you can plus 1 add Vairina through your hand, which is this card over here. And we have Nirvana. So Nirvana is a simple skill where it's once per turn, discard one card from your hand, choose a grade 0 from your draw zone, and call it to the circle. So most of the time, this will be used to be calling Trickstar here, which is the base for these 3 Vairina forms and maybe more in the future. Yeah. So Nirvana's other strength is that when it attacks, count plus 1. It gives itself 10,000 and all units with the overdress ability. So one thing to note is that the units do not need to be in overdress state. Basically, they do to evolve. So even if you call out any of the Vairinas as a regular regard, they will still gain the power. So this helps you push even without committing very lowly in a sense. So you can see with all these skills, the deck is rather consistent early game, as it will set up at least one overdress unit on the play with Trickstar and Vairina being tutorable by the right deck. So for the main deck, it's a little different from the other Kita decks, as Dragon Empire has always been known to be mostly a very linear focused deck, so there's not as much moving pieces to it as with Kita. So here, the main card is of course the cover card for DB201, which is Vairina Valiant. So Vairina Valiant is the grade 3 unit, which you place on your overdress when you try to end the game. So by placing it on Trickstar, or basically any grade 3 or less unit, so you can place it on itself or any of these other Vairinas that I'll get to, you can enter overdress state. Then when you're in overdress state, this card gets 5k power for each unit in the original dress. So this actually helps it hit magic numbers on its own. So you have one card underneath it is 18k, you have 2 is 23k. These powers also works on both players' turn, making it a very strong defensive option, as your opponent can't really hit it unless they trade out remove it with Barrier Magnus or just any removal skills. This makes it a very reliable regard, as it's able to hit magic numbers without doing anything essentially. Then the other some more effect, which is auto regard circle. When they attack all this unit hits and it's in overdress state, you can come plus 1, discard 1 card to restand itself. So this means that at 4 damage, this is essentially like a pseudo 2 crit Vanguard, as your opponent has to block it, otherwise they have to guard it for it again. Yeah. So this is how you essentially pressure for the endgame. As you see, power wise, even between there's a few cards we discussed like Nirvana and Valiant, there's so much power being pushed to the board, and this is not even considering personal right. Next up is the Trial Deck Vairina, which is the base form, I'll call it that. So it overdresses on Trickstar, you will guarantee 1 with Ryu. So when you place on Trickstar, then when it attacks, it's overdress state, it gets 10k, so it's a free 20k attacker, which is amazing in the early game and late game. It's so strong. Then it also has another skill where Soul Blast 2, you can choose any regard and retire it. While Soul Blast 2 is a bit hefty, generally I won't complaining, as its main role as a attacker is really unparalleled by many other cards, and these cards can be a huge commitment at times to put like more than 2. Like think about it, like you've 1 under that, it's 18k. Just place by playing this is 20k. It's about the same unless you have 2 here. Then we have the key card, I'll say, the most important card out of DP201 for Nirvana builds. Okay, other than Valiant is of course Vairina Arcus. So this card's going to be a huge staple for Trickstar decks, I'm sure of it. So when you overdress on Trickstar, you come plus 2, you just draw 2 cards and you get 5k at the end of turn. The 5k is like whatever, but 2 draw, like this is so strong in this format, as the only other nation which has 2 draws like that actually works on regard circles and all that is Elden, which is plus 2, so plus 1 and has a condition to it, and Commerce, which is plus 2, draw 2 cards. So having a Commerce on draw 2 cards is really amazing, even though it doesn't be overdressed yet. So you're technically having the same amount you're basically committing 2 cards to get 2 cards back, so it's technically like break even, but wow, this helps you draw into your defenses and just your combo pieces. Then another card people always play is of course Burn Bright's Pure Prayer, which is the order card, yeah. Basically, it gets a 15k shield, so this helps the deck stay in the game. As we know, with lower shield value, we want to grind our opponent, so most builds do play Sun Arbor this card. Then the last will be Trickstar himself, so I should have probably went this at the start, but Trickstar is a grade 0 unit, he basically resist, and in order to overdress, you need to have this on the field. So generally, most of your game plans in early game is always to draw into 2 or 3 copies of it. One is guaranteed, get a second copy out, then you can easily farm your overdress units with Vairina, Arcus, and Valiant, and push your opponent with Nirvana if all these big numbers until they lose. So now that we're going through the key cards, let's talk about some cards people do play. So I'm going to cover these 4 cards here. So the first one is Hado Shugen, so it's pretty simple, come +1. Your opponent's an overdressed. If a unit overdressed state, you can retire any regard. It's not that good, but hey, it's come +1 to retire. It's relatively cheap in this format. Then this card's like Iron Blade or Shikuni. You might know why you play this card. It's not very consistent, right? But I actually found that having this ability to rush is actually very helpful in the early game. As you push your opponent to 3 or 4 Valiant, it gets really crazy. Then we have Extreme Dragon Values to Hazard, which is a 10k booster, which is generally always good as it forms good numbers with any of the Vairinas. And Densa Sheet, which is a double from the set. When it hits, come +1, sack itself, copy the Vanguard, basically use it in your grade 3 above to take a persona, right? Yeah, essentially. It does cause a Gun Blast, so I'm not really a fan of this card, but some people do play it as it's a kind of thin one and you get a free persona right for next turn. But if you're running out of Gun Blast, using this skill to get fetch it out, and just using Nirvana's Count Blast 1 is about the same if you have a full overdress front row. So with that, I'll go into a quick demo before I just go through some deck lists of week 0 to week 3. So these are the decks. Okay, let's go to CFA. So this is the deck. Yeah, so we start with Reno. Yeah, one thing to highlight is that Reno does get 2k in regard. So it's a, if you wonder why people do play Reno, it's a good rush card, yeah. I should have highlighted that. So anyway, so let's go through a test hand on it. So, oh, okay. I obviously did not mulligan. So I just said throw 3 cards. Draw 3. Okay, pretty fine. So generally, if Trickstar, let's say we go second, I'll show you how good the numbers are. So let's say we go draw. Maybe it's too many of this. Drop. Reno. Let's say we just start to rush. We can just call this out actually. Regard, something like that. Oh, right, draw. Let me check. Oh, draw. Okay, I'm checking really hard. But okay, stand draw. So just let's show you how a general flow is deck. So you see we go to Ryu, then activate Reno skill called Trickstar from the deck. So this is a very common play. You see you get Reno and Trickstar, so this is a 15k column actually. So this actually hits kind of good numbers. So you can hit for 15 over here. Yeah. Obviously if you have Arcus like here, you can actually play it for the 2 draw. But personally I like to hold on to it until I get more damage, as one of the deck's weaknesses is being damage denied. It's bigger plays. So you can either hit a more safe game or you can just immediately go to Arcus. So you can immediately just let's see, switch this over. You can immediately just dress over this, yeah, come +1. Okay, 5k. And just 2 draw. Just like that, yeah. As you can see, we have a lot of cards actually to work with. Yeah, I guess swing. Yep. Okay. Then generally, you want to intercept when this one is done, unless you got Valiant. So you can let this go if you want. But we have Valiant here, so actually 5k got blocked. Should be fine. I say they go for it. If they go for it, then it's fine. But whatever. So let's say 1 comes last here. Okay. So now I'll show you how fast the deck can be. So let's say we drop a card. Okay, not really good, but we go to Nirvana. Then reuse skill activates here. You can still +1 to take the original Vairina, which is this card over here. Put it down hand. Then you can use like Nirvana skill right now. Discard a card like this and revive a grade 0 from the draw. So obviously Trickstar. Then now with Trickstar, we can do some routes here. We can go for the power play, or we can just overdress here. We can go this way, try to pressure Valiant, but as I said, if Valiant is best, it opens at high damage. So generally, you don't want to see the Counter Blast now for Nirvana to power your front row, or in this case, you can go for another Arcus to see like how good this card is. Counter Blast 1, draw 2. Yeah, I see, like, sets up so much. You're like, you can even chain it off, yeah, if you really want to. Yeah, let's go. Then you still get 10k. So you can see, like, even without much Counter Blast, you can still do crazy plays. So it's like 13k. You drive. Okay, then yeah, can go swing. So generally the deck just plays like this for most of the game, and this is why it's such a threat in the format, despite being a very simplistic deck. Also, another thing why we play crits is that it opens at 4 damage, right? You have to counter this. You have, let's say we have Persona Right or some shit like that, but at 4 damage, with Persona Right, everyone gets 10, right? So let's just maybe reset the power for you all. So let's say Persona Right, just Valiant's power. So with Persona Right, let's say the lowest thing. Yep, we put Persona Right then, right? So we can say hit with Nirvana. Let's say we leave a Counter Blast open. Then this is hitting on 23. This is hitting for 30k when it attacks. And this is hitting for 31 on your own without anything else. Okay, this is 41 actually, yeah. So this is the numbers you can form just one Counter Blast. And if you pull a crit, you can put a crit on Vairina and power to Valiant. So your opponent has to got the 2 crit attack and to got Valiant, otherwise risking it to reach 10. Of course, this deck still the amount of combat you have, which is something you must know playing against the deck, as sometimes limiting your resources can be very important in the deck, determining whether you can guard or not. As Nirvana's Counter Blast 1 is essentially demanding you an extra 30k shield every single turn. Yeah, so with that, let's go through some quick deck lists. So let's go through week 1. Like, what's the win 3 of mine? Okay, these guys want to share deck list. Let's not go through this. So now, yeah, let's look at this one from called Hobby Spring. Yeah, so it's pretty simple deck list. Right deck, Vairina, Valiant 4, 14 Buckler, 4 Trickster. Pretty simple things, right? Prayer, 4 Arcus. Things you expect of Nirvana deck. Pretty standard. 4 draws, 3 draws, 1 overthree. Then you can see with Vic 2, let's pick this one. Generally about the same thing, but we can see like cards like Tensor Shit being tested now. And I believe this is still 4 draw, still 4 draw, yeah. Let's take another look at the second week deck, Psycho Shop. Yeah, you can see Tensor Shit maybe a bit trying to be adapted here. I'm still wondering why they're playing it, honestly. But Persona Right is generally very good. So maybe they want to filter in Persona Right so they can check more triggers and put them on Valiant. Yeah. Then let's go with week 3. This one, let's go through the Singapore list actually, where I'm from. So Sentinel Gaming has a list like this. So this one doesn't play Tensor Shit. It's playing Developer Raptor. So this card actually, like I said, makes very good columns, especially with Valiant. So this, let's say you put it at a base 23k, Nirvana or Persona Right gives it to 33k, or maybe 43k if you use both. Then you put this 53k already. It's like 43 to 53 lines perfect to win the game. Over triggers self-filtering, yeah. Then let's take a look at Caesar Games, which is another shop. My kind of this one's really interesting. I didn't highlight this, but he plays Tribash, which is the support card that was kind of tailored to Eugene, which basically says open has 2 less regards, you can put it to soul and give the Vanguard attacking extra critical. So this is an interesting tech really, as it helps you get more soul, so you can actually play around with Vairina here if you have a bit more, as well as Tensor Shit to get Persona Right. Yeah, really looks very solid. Of course, all the guys has it all pimped out, so shout out to him for Trickstar. Yeah. So Tribash maybe. I could see it being useful. Yeah, so only talking about soul. Yeah, so overall, it's still a very strong deck overall. Let's take one more like this. Pretty much same ideas here. The guy plays 4 Tensor. Another low SP guy, yeah. But generally, Nirvana's beat out rush deck, so when you play the deck, you need to play very aggressively, like shown. Abuse the numbers. Like your opponents guard early for your Nirvanas and your Tricksters, like your opponent's not going to survive if they do not heal. This is why you play crits and it's so aggro. As even without Counter Blast, you can still push big numbers. But yeah, generally you do not really need to guard early game. That's why the order card is so strong, as it only gets shield. when we do when we do go through damage more. Yeah. With that, I'll leave you some deck lists I think it's pretty interesting. So let's take a look at this one, which is a pretty standard deck list, pretty good outline for you to follow. It is easy to see, so we can see it there. Let's load it. Yeah, pretty standard list. It's a good background to follow. I play with overDress here. I just feels really good. Then this one's a bit different. Also, since my friend, he just doesn't play all the cards, just immediately aggro. And in this deck list, at least censorship, I know the reason for it, because my friend likes to play so aggro. He keeps calling out boosters to make sure you take the damage. And when he hits, he essentially cycles off for +1 in hand, which is personal, right? Yeah, so that's why in this list in particular, there's so much censorship. Then Nirvana big 2, so this one's unseeable on it. So, but overall, Nirvana is a good pickup, and Elder's already confirmed. So, yeah, more Vairinas. So with that, thank you for watching, and see you next time. Maybe we'll cover through Keter's deck list again, with week 3, week 4 coming in. Yeah, which I'll be covering, as I want to see how people adapted to Bastion, or did they even adapt to Bastion. Okay, with that, bye, see you next time.